Let me ask you something. Who are you walking with? Not who follows you on Instagram. Not who likes your posts. Not who calls you bro. Not who says, I got you. I'm asking something deeper. Who has access to your future? Because the people around you can accelerate your life? Or quietly pull it apart? A bad business partner can cost you thousands of dollars. A dishonest friend can damage your reputation. The wrong mentor can send you down a road that takes years to recover from. And the wrong relationship can slowly steal something you can't put a price on. Your peace. Sometimes the most expensive mistake you'll ever make isn't a bad investment. It's trusting the wrong person. If you're living in America, you understand how important relationships can be. Maybe you're building a business. Maybe you're trying to buy your first home. Maybe you're raising a family. Maybe you're starting a ministry. Maybe you're trying to build a better life than the one your parents had. And if you're bilingual, you may already know what it's like to live between two worlds. English at work. Spanish at home. One culture in one room. Another culture in the next. But no matter which language you're speaking, one thing never changes. Who you trust matters. Thousands of years ago, a young man named Tobias faced a decision of his own. His father, Tobit, had entrusted money to a man named Gabael in Media. Now the time had come to recover it. But Tobias had a problem. He didn't know the road. He didn't know what waited for him along the way. And he couldn't make the journey alone. Then a stranger appeared. He introduced himself as Azariah. Tobias didn't know who he really was. We know him as Raphael. And that stranger would walk beside Tobias through a journey that would change his life. So here's the question. Is the person walking beside you a Raphael, or a risk? Who you walk with shapes where you go. There's something interesting about walking with someone. You don't always notice how much they're influencing you. It happens slowly. You hear their opinions. You watch how they handle problems. You listen to how they talk about money. You notice how they treat people. Eventually, their voice becomes one of the voices inside your own head. That's why Proverbs says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Notice the word. Walk. Not visit. Not meet once. Walk. Because influence is built through proximity. Think about the people you speak to when you're confused. Who do you call when you have a big decision? Who do you tell about your next business idea? Who knows your financial situation? Who knows what's happening in your marriage? Who has enough access to influence what you do next? Those relationships matter. And here's something we don't always like to admit. Sometimes we choose people because they make us feel good, instead of because they make us better. We like the person who always agrees. You're right. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Everybody's doing it. You deserve it. But there are moments when love sounds different. Sometimes love sounds like, stop. Think about this. The numbers don't make sense. I don't think that's wise. That's the kind of person you want close when the stakes are high. Someone who doesn't just walk beside you, but helps you see where you're going. Lesson 1, don't be impressed too quickly. When Tobias met Azariah, he didn't know he was meeting an angel. There was no dramatic announcement. No sign in the sky. No voice saying, this is the person you should trust. He simply appeared as a traveler who knew the road. And that's worth remembering. We live in a world where people know how to look successful. The expensive suit. The luxury car. The perfect social media page. The confident voice. The impressive vocabulary. The business card. The followers. But appearance can tell you what someone wants you to see. Character tells you who they are when there's nothing to gain. Scripture puts it simply. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So when you're considering someone for your business, your ministry, your finances, or even your inner circle, don't ask only, what have they accomplished? Ask, how do they behave when nobody is watching? How do they treat the waiter? How do they treat their employees? How do they talk about people who aren't in the room? How do they react when someone tells them no? How do they handle losing? How do they handle being corrected? Because eventually, the real person always shows up. Lesson 2, the right person brings what you don't have. Tobias didn't know the road. Azariah did. And that tells us something important about a strong partnership. The right person doesn't have to be exactly like you. In fact, sometimes that's the problem. Imagine two people starting a business. Both are great at sales. Neither understands accounting. Both love taking risks. Neither likes paperwork. Both say, we'll figure it out later. That's not balance. That's two weaknesses sitting at the same table. A better partnership might look different. Maybe you're great with customers, but terrible with numbers. Maybe you're creative, but disorganized. Maybe you know construction, but don't understand marketing. Maybe you can sell anything, but you don't know how to build systems. Imagine you're starting a landscaping company here in America. You know the work. You know the equipment. You know how to talk to customers. But you keep guessing your prices. You don't track your expenses. You don't know your actual profit. Then someone joins you who understands bookkeeping, scheduling, operations, and cash flow. That person doesn't need to be better than you. They need to bring something you don't have. Proverbs says, "Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors there is safety." So ask yourself 2 questions. What am I good at? And then ask the harder one. Where am I weak enough to make a costly mistake? Knowing the answer isn't weakness. It's maturity. Lesson 3: The right person helps you see what you can't. Every driver knows what a blind spot is. There's a part of the road you simply cannot see from where you're sitting. You can turn your head. You can check the mirror. And something can still be there. Life works the same way. You can be intelligent and still have blind spots. You can be successful and still make terrible decisions. You can know business and still trust the wrong person. That's why a good relationship isn't always comfortable. Sometimes the person who cares about you most will say, "The numbers don't work. That contract isn't clear. You're moving too fast. I don't trust that deal. You need to slow down." And here's where it gets difficult. We don't always enjoy being corrected. Our pride wants agreement. Wisdom sometimes requires discomfort. Proverbs says, "Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses." Think about that. The person who tells you the truth may hurt your feelings today, while the person who tells you what you want to hear may hurt your life tomorrow. So think about someone you trust. Someone who can look at you and say, "You're wrong." And you don't walk away. You listen. Why? Because somewhere along the way, they earned the right to speak into your life. Protect that relationship. Lesson 4: Character comes before talent. Imagine you meet someone brilliant. They understand marketing. They know real estate. They understand technology. They know how to make money. They're charismatic. They're confident. And then you discover something. They lie. They manipulate people. They don't keep promises. They cut corners. They don't pay people on time. They blame everyone else when things go wrong. Would you still partner with them? Some people would say, "I can handle their personality. They're good for business." But eventually, the same character they show to other people, they'll show to you. Proverbs says, "Whoever walks in integrity walks securely." Integrity isn't just something you talk about on Sunday. It follows you into the office, into the bank, into the contract, into the partnership, into the home. Before trusting someone's promises, watch their patterns. Do they keep small commitments? Do they admit mistakes? Do they return what they owe? Do they tell the truth when the truth costs them? Do they take responsibility? Watch closely. Because character rarely announces itself. It reveals itself. I value this relationship enough to make things clear. Because unclear expectations create resentment. Clarity protects relationships. Lesson 5: Make sure you're walking toward the same destination. Sometimes 2 people can be good people and still be wrong for the same partnership. Why? Because they want different destinations. Imagine you want to build a company for the next 10 years. Your partner wants to make quick money and sell within 12 months. Neither person is necessarily evil. But you're not walking toward the same place. Maybe you want to build something that serves people. They want maximum profit at any cost. You want stability. They want enormous risk. You want to protect your family. They want to put everything on the line. Eventually, the difference will surface. Amos asks, "Do 2 walk together unless they have agreed to do so?" Before you partner, talk about the things people are often afraid to discuss. What are we building? Why are we building it? How do we define success? How much risk are we willing to take? Who makes which decisions? What happens when we disagree? What happens if one person wants out? Who owns what? These conversations may feel uncomfortable. Have them anyway. A written agreement doesn't have to mean, "I don't trust you." Sometimes it means, "I value this relationship enough to make things clear." Because unclear expectations create resentment. Clarity protects relationships. Lesson 6: A bad partnership costs more than money. Let's talk about the real price of choosing the wrong person. It's not always the money. You can lose time, peace, reputation, confidence, opportunities, friendships, and sometimes, years. Imagine starting a company with your best friend. You don't write anything down because we're family. 3 years later, something changes. The business makes money. And suddenly you disagree. Who owns what? Who invested more? Who worked more? Who gets paid first? Who makes the final decision? Now you're not just fighting over a business. You're fighting over a friendship. But the problem didn't begin 3 years later. It began when both of you were afraid to have an uncomfortable conversation at the beginning. Sometimes people avoid difficult conversations because they want peace today. But avoiding a problem doesn't make it disappear. It simply gives the problem time to grow. So have the conversation. Before the partnership. Before the money. Before the contract. Before the business becomes complicated. Before resentment has a name. Clarity is kindness. Lesson 7: The right people can help you go further. Look at Tobias's journey. He didn't simply recover money. He returned home changed. He had experienced things he had never experienced before. He had learned. He had faced danger. He had received guidance. He had become more capable. And that's what the right people can do. A mentor can shorten your learning curve. A good friend can tell you the truth before the world does. A strong business partner can help you build something bigger than you could build alone. A healthy marriage can give you strength when life becomes difficult. A good community can keep you grounded when success starts changing you. But notice something. Raphael didn't do Tobias's journey for him. Tobias still had to walk. Still had to make decisions. Still had to face danger. Still had to take responsibility. That's important. The right people don't live your life for you. They help you become capable of living it well. The Raphael test. So before you give someone access to your money, your business, your dreams, or your future, slow down. Ask yourself 7 questions. 1. Does this person make me wiser, or more impulsive? After talking to them, do you have more clarity? Or more confusion? 2. Can they tell me the truth? Can they disagree with you without becoming your enemy? 3. Do they have a track record? Not promises. Not potential. Evidence. 4. How do they handle money? Do they respect agreements? Do they keep records? Do they live beyond their means? Do they constantly borrow? Do their actions match their words? 5. Do your values align? You don't need to be identical. But you need enough common ground to build something together. 6. Does this relationship make you stronger? More disciplined? More peaceful? More responsible? More courageous? More aligned with the person you want to become? 7. And perhaps the most important. Would I trust this person when things go wrong? Because anyone can look like a great partner when everything is going well. The real test comes when the money disappears. The customer complains. The deal falls apart. Someone makes a mistake. The pressure rises. That's when you discover who is actually walking beside you. What if you already chose the wrong person? Maybe you're listening right now and thinking, I already chose the wrong person. Maybe you're already in a bad partnership. Maybe you've trusted someone who betrayed you. Maybe someone you once called a friend is now the source of your greatest stress. If that's you, don't panic. And don't make a major decision tonight just because you're emotional. But don't ignore what you're seeing either. Slow down. Get clarity. Write things down. Have the conversation. Set boundaries. And when the situation involves serious money, contracts, ownership, or legal consequences, get qualified professional advice. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do isn't to fight. It's to create distance. You can forgive someone and still limit their access to your life. You can love someone and still say, we can't build a business together. That's not hatred. That's discernment. People who tell you the truth. People who respect your purpose. People who make you stronger. People who don't need to control you to support you. People who can celebrate your success without competing with you. So here's something I want you to do. Think about the person who has walked beside you during one of the hardest seasons of your life. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your brother. Maybe it's your mother. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's someone you met when you were starting over in America. If that person has been there for you, don't take them for granted. Tell them, thank you for walking with me. And if this message made you think about someone, share this video with them. And if you're building a business, raising a family, starting over, growing in your faith, or simply trying to become a better version of yourself, subscribe. We're going to keep exploring the stories and wisdom that have survived thousands of years. And the questions they still force us to ask about our lives today. Because here's what I want you to remember. The wrong person can accelerate your problems. But the right person can help you walk farther than you could walk alone. So pray before you partner. Watch character before you trust. Create clarity before you commit. And never confuse charisma with character. Because not everyone walking beside you is walking toward the same destination. Some people are companions. Some are teachers. Some are temporary. And some are risks. Ask God for the wisdom to know the difference. As Proverbs 27 verse 17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." Find people who sharpen you. And become someone who sharpens others. Walk together. Build together. Learn together. Pray together. Grow together. God bless you, your family, your work, and every relationship connected to your purpose. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe for more biblical wisdom for life, money, and purpose.